Very loud, still very loud. Because today I changed to use PC. I moved back my desktop to my office here, and I want to try the audio and all this camera to prepare for the MQA on this Thursday. It seems like so loud. You can hear so loud.
Oh, yeah.
But when I check outside, there are 10 compressors outside. I'm not sure how many on. It's actually a teach outside this room, all the compressor. Let me try to off this aircon and try it again. How about now? Seems like no more, huh?
Oh, yeah, no more.
Oh, yeah.
No more because it's only one compressor is running, but so loud already you all can hear. Oh, which means that this audio is really good, huh? You all can hear those sound, huh? But I have to on it, sorry. But my voice can cover the sound or not? I try to make it so louder now. But now seems like no sound already. Once I restart the aircon, hopefully you can hear any sound?
Yeah, no sound.
No more already. Compressor hanggang already? Don't know lah. Okay, no sound, that would be good. Because yesterday I was using this PC to have meeting with KL as well, but it seems like they didn't mention it. No more sound, no more, no? Yeah, good. Yeah. Okay. So for today, we're going to cover chapter 8, array. So you all have any problems to do your practical at this moment? Up to practical 7 only, Noel? You are too advanced.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so far so good.
Right.
How about Farah? And also Kelvin? Farah and Kelvin?
No, haven't started the 7.
Haven't started the 7. How about 6? Done already or what?
Done.
I lost my connections for a while. Don't know why. It's using the landline. You all can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So Kelvin, you're done with until practical 6 at this moment, is it, Kelvin? Am I right?
Yeah.
How about Farah? You've done until which practical at this moment? Is Farah here? At 6. Oh, you don't have mic, huh? Practical 6 start. Okay. Today we are going to cover chapter 8, so which means that we need to cover practical 8 this week. But for your information, because our MQA VA, we call it Makava, this virtual audit is actually start at 9. So my presentations will be at 10. Okay, we have a short meeting before the presentation, so I don't think I can join your practical class on this Thursday lah. Okay, so you all again do whatever you can. So you may have your discussions through the WhatsApp. It's okay, because if I don't join the meet, you all cannot join also, am I right? Am I right? Or you all can join it?
Oh, yeah, cannot join.
Okay, so for this Thursday, you all don't need to join the meet, but you all can have your own discussions first inside the WhatsApp group or your own group maybe. You all have your own group maybe. If yes, better you start with your discussions in your own group, because I don't think I really have no time to come to join the meet already. 9 until 10 we have meeting with the assessor. 10 until 11 that will be my presentations to them, and also right after that we will continue with interview session. So I believe I don't have time to really come into this class on that day lah. Okay, so you all please, yeah.
The whole MQA finish
Pardon? Pardon?
When will they finish?
2 days. 2 days. Thursday and Friday.
Oh.
Thursday and Friday. This Thursday and Friday. So we're gonna have this campus tour lah. We're gonna have to answer all the questions, all the documents they ask lah. So we have to stand by. On that day, Thursday, Friday, we start at consider 9, but we may need to start early lah. We may need to get ready early lah. 9 until 5. Tomorrow, not tomorrow. Friday also 9 until should be 4:30, something like that lah. 2 days ah. Okay. So you all have your own discussions first ah. We leave the questions that Noel, please help your friends in this case. Please guide them. Okay, if the questions that you cannot answer them, Kelvin and Farah, you try to ask Noel first. If Noel cannot answer you on certain questions or whatsoever, I believe Noel have no problems to answer the practical lah. Huh? You have to complete everything, right? At this moment? Okay, good. So you'll try to get help from Noel first. Okay. So if there's anything that you want to bring to our discussions, we will have our discussions after this QA lah. Okay. So today we will cover chapter 8. Chapter 8 is the array, and you also need to apply this array lah to your assignment later on. Okay. How about your assignment? Your assignment, you have any discussions happen?
Don't have yet.
Don't have yet.
We just
In between the last submissions on the proposal until now, no discussions at all lah.
Oh, just a bit lah.
A bit lah. But you all start to design your own UI already. That user interface. You all start to design your own interface already?
Oh yeah, actually we wait for the database lecture first.
So okay. Yeah, that will be next week. That will be next week. You will start to, we will start to cover this database, and then next week and next week, you're gonna try on this database, how to deal with this, your visual programming with database already. Huh? Okay, so let me project my screen. Hold on now. Oh, I record first. Okay, so chapter 8, array. So you can see the projections, array, Okay, good. So for this chapter, to establish an array and refer to individual elements in the array with index subscripts. Okay, index here. Then the general form for that is actually we're going to use the for each. Next, that's the syntax to be used for this array in VP, Visual Programming. So we have to use this for each next to traverse the element of an array from I equals to 0, like what you have done in programming last time. For I equals to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. So in this case, we have to use the for each to next. Okay, so create a structure for multiple fields of related data. Still remember what is structure in your programming last time in Sem 1? You all learned this also, type def struct, maybe student, that's a tag structure, struct student, and then you have different members inside the structure. I hope you still remember that. If you can't remember that, you need to, at least now, to get back some ideas from programming that you have learned, the concept from there. Okay, the structure is one of it. Array as well. Then this for each is actually having the same meaning, like when you have the for loop to have I equals to 0, I less than a certain number, I plus 1 or plus 2 or plus 5, up to the how many steps you want to skip later. So accumulate totals using array. Definitely, if you have the array, you may have the single dimensions, you may have multi-dimensions, which is normally 2D, 2D array. Then sometimes questions will ask you to calculate the total. Total for the row total, okay, or for the columns total, or the grand total. Everything lah. When it comes to the grand total, that will be everything. Okay, distinguish between direct access and indirect access of a table. Different of the direct or indirect access to a table, and write a table lookup for matching an array element. You have to you try to find something, search. That will be your search. Okay, table lookup for matching an array element. You will search whatever key in, then compare whether it's the same or not. If yes, it will show something else. It will show the related details that you store for that particular element. Okay. Combine the advantages of list box control with array. Again, list box we have covered already. Okay. Then we can use a list box to have control with the array as well. Store and look up the data in multi dimensions array. That will be 2D arrays. Okay. You can store, and you can also do a lookup for the data that you have put inside multi-dimensional array. So single D array. So array, I believe you still have some idea what is the array. You have multiple elements with the same name, with the same type. That's the array. You can have, previously you can have integer, ARR, none. Then which means that with the size, let's say 10. So which means that now you have a set of 10 elements. All these 10 elements with integer. Okay, same name, but different, definitely different index. Different index, but with the same data type. That's the array. Okay. So series of variables that all referenced by the same name. So you only need to declare once. Then every single element is actually with the same name, but make sure it refers to the different index. So used to store multiple values, you can store how many elements that you want inside this array, but make sure you assign the proper size for that. So maybe referred to as a table or subscripted variable. That's the index. Individual elements are treated the same as any other variable and may be used in any segment. So if you want to assign a new value to any elements of the array, so just to make sure you find out which index that you want to do such updates. Okay, make sure you come up with the proper index, then to assign a lattice value to that particular index, to that particular element then. Okay. So array term, that's the element, the terms that we normally use for the array element. That's the individual items in the array. Every element is actually with different index. That's the subscript. So a number used to reference the specific element in the array. And the lowest, these boundaries here, you have the lowest, that will be 0. Always start with 0. The first element always start with 0. Then upper subscript, depends on what size you declare. Then that will be -1. Because if you declare size in your previous programming, if you declare your element with size 6, your index always -1. That will be the last index, that will be 5 lah. So always -1 for the upper subscript based on the size that you have. That's the concept that we ever gone through. Okay, so the declarations statements of array, how you can declare the array for this ratio. Okay, so the dim statement, allocate the storage for specific number of element and initialize numeric variables to 0 and string array elements to empty string. So this can be initialized. You can initialize it with 0. Okay, if that's the numbers, numeric variables. If you declare it as a numeric one, you always can initialize it to 0. If that's a string array, the string, that's the character with the size previously in programming, the string element, then you can always initialize it to empty 0. Okay, to empty 0 with 0 character, nothing there. So the general form, how you can declare this array, you can start with dim, array name, come out with the upper subscript. Okay, upper subscript, that will be the index. The last index as what type. So for example here, if you have dim integer index 4 as integer, which means that you are using this form. Quite few forms here, quite few different way, but still you are actually dealing with array. So if you put it here 4, which means that your array is actually with 5 elements, because this number here is actually with the upper subscript, the last element index. So when the last element's index is 4, 4 plus 1, your array is actually with 5 elements. Okay, so your 5 elements minus 1, that will be your last index, last element's index, which is 4. This is what it means. Okay. You also can come up with this way, the second form here, second general form here, dim array name with a bracket. You don't know how many, what's the number here, as what type. But you initialize it with some values. So based on these values, I know, this array, integer number array, I have 3 elements. Okay, 3 elements. So you can write down in this way, the third form. Dim array name as what type, size at the back with nothing, but here again you initialize it. So which means that something like this. Dim integer number as integer. You didn't put out any size, but you have 3 elements initialized. You will have 3 elements here. Okay, so you can do the same declarations for string. Okay, dim string department. You don't know what size is that, as string, So now you have initialized 1, 2, 3. That means that this string department is actually with 3 elements in this case. Okay?
So this one is fixed to 3 elements only.
Yeah. Okay. If here you didn't put any size, then it will depend on what size that you have declared. How many elements that you have initialized. And this is actually follow what you have learned in programming as well. You can always leave your array size just empty, but you initialize it. You leave it empty, but without any initializations, that will be error lah. Okay. So we move on to the next slide. So far, so good?
No.
Any question? Kelvin? Okay,
Okay.
Okay. Harold also okay,
Okay.
Okay. So valid subscripts. I believe you all have ideas already lah. What we call as valid subscript, valid indexes. Okay. Make sure must reference a valid element of an array. What size of your array? And make sure your index is within the range lah. If outside of the range, definitely you will have error then, because out of range. Out of range. Same concept again in programming previously. Okay, so VB rounds a fractional subscript. Fractional is the when you divide it, you have the decimal places. You will round it up. So VB throws the exceptions for subscripts that are out of range. So let's say your element is with 5 elements. Definitely your index should be with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you forget about this, the highest index should be -1 of the size. You put 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Habis. Error. Still not that bad, right? But make sure you know what's wrong with that kind of error. You must know that's already out of range and adjust the index then. Okay? Or adjust the size of your array. Okay? So for each next statement, you use to reference each element in the array. We also need to use a for loop to go to check through or to access through a single element, every single element in the array previously. So now the general form for this visual programming also. For each element name as what type in which array. So what you want to do in this loop. Okay. Next. So later we have this demo as well. Okay. So VB references each element of the array and assign its value to element name. You will refer to each element. The VB here is your Visual Basic actually of the array and assign its value. You have the values to be assigned to this element name that you have later on. So variable used for the element names must be same data type as array elements of an object data type. So that's why, once again, for the array, it's actually deal with only one type, but different for structure. We did mention in the objective part, you have structure. So structure, you can have same, you can have different data type, but array must be the same data type. Okay, so make one pass through the loop per element. Your loop keep iterate or repeat. Once it is still inside the, once it is still meet the conditions, it will still loop. Okay, until it terminates. Yeah, talk about the structure. Array just now, I did mention. Make sure it's only one data type. So here for the structure, I hope you still remember the structure concept that you have learned, and they actually apply this to the assignment as well, but I'm not sure whether you still remember it or not. combine multiple fields of data to create a new structure. You can combine multiple fields of data, which is related, still related, like a student. If you want to collect a student's records, student data, then normally what kind of data you need to keep? Student ID, student name, age, gender, contact number, address, maybe lah. So all these data, you can be the same or different data type. You must choose the best data type for all this data. So that's why we might have different data type for all the members that you have here. So when you have this kind of problems, this kind of conditions happen, make sure you use structure. Okay. So the structure declarations here. So by default, our structure is a public. Normally, we will have the global structure. Again, this is also the same concept in the programming that you have learned in SEM 1. Normally, we declare the structure at the top as a global structure. Okay, so cannot be declared inside a procedure. Okay, generally placed at the top of a file with module level declarations. Always place at the top when you declare the structure. Same goes to when you deal with C++ previously also, you have been advised to put at the top to declare it as a global structure. Okay, we can also place it in separate file, and make sure your separate files here normally is the module class, so that, which means that different class that you need to access to this structure, you can do that. Okay, so you can also place it in separate file just for these declarations. Okay, so for the general form, general syntax for this structure, public or private or friend, normally is a public structure. What's the structure name? So you can have your different members fall under the same structure, but again, remember, make sure all those members that you're going to have are related. Okay, are related. Let's say if you want to collect all about fruits, but end up you have combinations of fruits and veggie, which is out of topic already.
You have to write the public, private, friend there.
Or, this one is or. So normally it's a public, public structure. So what's your structure name? So dim.
Normally just write the public.
Yes. That's why normally we place at the top of the file.
If you don't write public, if you don't write anything, it's not allowed. It's not allowed.
Because every of the declarations here, you must have the access level. If you don't put it there, don't know how to access it. Okay, in the VP you must put either one. Okay, public normally.
So is it event handler cannot declare inside the event handler?
Event handler? No.
Yeah, like if
No,
cannot.
cannot. Because once you have the structure, you may use it in so many different functions. You may use it in so many different functions always. Otherwise, you won't need to have a structure there. You remember what's the structures that you have learned in your programming in SEM 1? Did you still have idea there?
Just a bit.
Just a bit. Okay, so once you have this structure declared, we now talk about the programming first, because at the end, the concept is still the same. It's only that the way of doing it is a little bit different. Concept is anyway still the same. When you declare a structure in global, okay, so like when you have the add functions, search functions, when you have display functions, either you're going to search Let's say now your program is doing your module is doing on the student. I want to search a certain students, or I want to add a new student. It's still on students. I want to edit the students. I want to delete the students. I want to display the students. So you can see that so many functions are talking about the same thing. So that's why once you declare it in structure, you can use it in so many different functions. In so many different functions. If you see you want to declare it in one of the functions, then there is no point to use structure already, suppose. And some more you say, no point already to put it as a global structure already. That's like extra lah. But once you declare it as the global structure, you use it in so many different functions, then that's a good programming skills. You apply the professional way to assess, to display, just by using what you have declared once at the top, once at the top of your file, once at the top of your program previously. Okay, so later we have this example as well. We have this in a demo file as well. How to apply this, how to really declare it in declare a structure, and apply it into a certain process later. Okay. The concept is important. You all need to really remember what's the concept that you have learned. Okay. So far, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Still can hear a lot sound, compressor sound. Is it still loud?
So,
Okay, not so already. Maybe my voice cover already, but I can hear the sound is like start increase a bit already. Okay, never mind. So assessing the element in a structure variable. For each field of the data in structure is referred to as an element of the structure. So you're gonna have each element, one element of the structure. So this one also the same thing. Variable dot element. Variable dot member. You remember that? Variable dot member. After you have declared a structure student, so you should have a structure variable. Then whenever you need to deal with this structure, we play around using structure variable, which is this at this moment in this visual programming. That's the variable mentioned. This is structure variable. So if you want to deal with every element of the structure, every member of the structures that you have, let's say student ID, student name, age. So that will be s1.studentID, s1.age, something like that. Okay, so same concept of variable.member as you have learned in Sem 1. Okay, another example, the example here, this is the structure variable. Dot, what's the member that you have declared inside the structure? So string last name, that will be one of the element, one of the member of the structure that you have declared. Okay. So you can also come up with your structure variable with index. Okay. Index. Then you deal with array in this case if you have this index. Okay. You all have learned also array structure. I think should be in your last one or last two, second last chapter in programming. Okay, so whenever you have this index here, that is actually you deal with array already for that structure. Okay, so this again, that will be the element, that will be the member of the structures that you have declared.
That's why the prefix is UDT.
Huh?
The prefix, the beginning.
Prefix.
Yeah.
This one is only the example for the structure variables that being used. Structure variable.
No, the naming, the UDT in the front, the examples.
This UDT
Yeah. What does it mean?
Is not fixed to UDT. Any structure variables that you use to come up with your structure variable on the structures that you declare.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the structure that you have declared, you can have so many names. So it depends on the structures that you have. You come up with the proper structure variables name for that. Later on, you play around with it actually. Okay. So including an array. So this is what I've mentioned just now. Array in a structure. So array can be included as elements within a structure. And this VB does not allow you to declare the number of arrays, number of elements in the array within the structure declarations. You must declare that outside of your structure declarations after you have a structure declared. Then if that's about the array structure variables that you're going to use later on, make sure you declare it outside by using redeem statement. Redeem statement, which is inside your procedures, and also make sure you define the size. Okay, to define the size of what size is the array that you're going to have for this structure. Okay, just like when you have a structure declared, then later on when you have structure variable with this array, you deal with the array for the structure. You come out with this array with the size outside of the structure declaration. So always remember that does not allow you to declare the number of elements in the array. But you can come out with this number of elements in the array within the structure by using another statement here. Start with redeem. Okay. So something like this. Okay. Redeem. So here you have an array. You know already. Okay. You know already for this structure, cells details. You have a member called decimal cells as decimal. Okay. Then when you have this size, which means that you have the array, but you cannot simply just put the size within the structure declarations. That's the rules, So whenever it is array, you need to know the size, right? So use this another statement. Okay, another segment here to come out with the size. Okay, but before you come out with the size here, make sure you have a structure variables that declare for that particular structure. Then only you actually deal with this structure variable. See, you actually play around with the structure variable. You are not play around with the structure name itself. Okay, that will be the variable dot element variables dot member same concept. You have a declaration of the structure. These structures must have a name. Then you come up with the structure variable for that particular structure. Then in that functions, you are actually using structure variable. No matter in which functions that you're gonna use this structure later on, make sure you have the structure variable declared. We don't put structure name dot element. we always deal with structure variable dot element. Remember that? So now you want to assign some value, current cells, to the variable dot members here, decimal cells with index 2. Okay, with index 2 with this current cells value lah. Okay, so the third element, it will affect the third element in this case. Okay. Demo time, that will be easier for you to look into the coding part. What's happening? For so long theory, so long story on this array for each next, for the structure, for the array, then you can play around with the demo now. Okay.
Chapter what?
Chapter 8.
Oh.
Demo on chapter 8. So you go for this form for each next structure. Okay, basically you only can see this for each next structure. Exit, name, marks 1, 2, 3. So when you click on the for each next first, for each next, click this event handler. Dim integer or number without any numbers here as integer, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means that this integer or number with 5 size, this array is actually with 5. Okay, you can do it in another way as well, which is also mentioned in the general form just now. Let me go back. Let me go back to the general form for the array here. Okay, the first one, no size but initializations. No size but with the initializations. Oops, sorry for that. Okay. Okay, so this is one of it. Or another one, here. Another one, you can come up with declarations with the size. This is actually with the upper, the last index. When the last index is 4, which means that you are actually creating the array with 5 elements. So with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You can do it in this way as well. So up to you which way you like. But when you declare it with only 4 here, the last index is 4, but you come out with initialization, you assign 60 to index 5. What will happen? Logically, what will happen?
Error.
Error. Because why?
Because outside the range.
It's out of range already. Okay. So you can just try it by commenting. You can run for one round first, then only you comment this line and comment from 20 to 25. Try another round. Okay. Then uncomment this one. Definitely you will get an error lah. So just for your demo purpose, you play around with it. So for each integer number as integer in your array, okay, divide. So you can find out your output. You cannot see your output when you start it, but you can see your output at the output window. Output window later. So when you start it, check your output window, because you won't have any pop-up output window. But here, I'm not sure which where is it located for your own environment, but check for this output window. When it comes to debug.writeLine integer number, it will display your output at here. So you can see something at the back after this. I'll try to.
What does the debug the thing do?
Debug, you can only see the output at this output window, but not after you click something. It will show you another forms. It won't show the output at the font. It will show you somewhere here. Okay, it will show you somewhere here. Okay. See? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It's not your form showing out any output, or your output will be shown in any other forms. No. But once it is start with debug.writeLine, you check this output window. You can see your output here. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, this one is only actually for your checking. Okay, because for user, normally they want to see all this form. But when you're seeing this, because this one is only for your own checking, for your own double confirm it works. Okay, you all have tried this also in one of the chapter. I think early on is like chapter 2 or 3, or maybe 1. Yeah, early on, you all play around with this output window, right? Output window, the one with the debug. The chapters with the breakpoint, I asked you all to play around with the breakpoint. That's the one. Okay. So can you see your 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 is here? You can't show any, it didn't show anything here because your line, your syntax here is on debug.writeLine. So it will happen in this output window. Please try.
So if every new value, it will go to the next line.
It will show one element at one time.
Yeah,
it's on the
same line.
Right line. Debug.writeLine. After you write down integer number, this integer number as integer set like for I equals to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus, then it will write down I. Then your first I value, first loop, it will access your 10. Then right line, new line. The second line, it will write 20. Right line again. Third line, it will write 30 as mentioned, as come out just now. Yeah. Okay. Did you find out this? Because I believe you have some kind of exceptions, you just press continue, that come out here. Okay, just press continue. You can just continue to see the output windows here. You have this shown on your screen. Okay. You got that or not? Is it display on your screen? Your output. At the bottom, you have these windows or not?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Yeah, so did you see your 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 is already there? You might need to scroll up a bit if you already run it. just now. See? Scroll up or down, you just check lah. It's somewhere there. Okay. If you lost already, you just better just stop it and then run again. Stop it and run again. Then later on, you can just uncomment this line. Uncomment pula. Comment this line. Uncomment 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 first. Then run again. Again, it will show you the same thing lah. Because now you're actually running this looping. And your process is also to right line, debug at the output window. Okay, click for each, and then I believe you can see something like this lah. Huh? This is your auto windows, output windows. Okay, just press on the continue. Then you can see 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 again. So this debug.write line is actually helping you to do your own checking at during your design time. Okay. For the user, they won't look at this output window. They will still look into all this form. Okay, all this form. But now it's only for your own checking. You can always come up with some kind like this type of checking for your assignment later on to make sure that what you have done previously are correct. So if this running, which means that whatever process that you have done previously until this line, all can run properly. This is another way for you to do your own checking when it comes to too many modules that you need to deal with, or too many parts. Even a single module or single sub-modules, you have a lot of things to cater. You always can come up with this debug.write line to just print out the certain message successfully. Then once you can see the successful message happens here, which means that whatsoever process that before this successful until that line of successful, all are successful. All can run properly already. Okay. That's another good way for you to do your checking. So now I stop it and then try this. Okay. Try this. You'll just play around. Okay. Continue. So, something wrong. Something wrong. Index was outside the bounds of the array. Okay. Definitely is actually mentioned on this line already. Okay. So this line is already out of bound, out of range. You only declared it with 5 elements. The last element index is actually with 4. But now you want to assign another value to index 5. That definitely cannot work for you. Okay? So that's the array. Okay. So now you try to run structure. Okay. Try to run structure. Structure using structure.
There's a C in the
Pardon? What is what?
line 41. The C in
41. Oh, this one is actually to convert the string to integer using the C way lah. Another way.
That's another.
Yes.
Another way.
Yeah. Previously, you all use the past one, right? That's the standard one that you have learned, but using this way also you can convert it from a string to the integer. Okay.
Oh.
Don't forget that always when you have the text box to ask for the user key in for that particular text box. So whatever the key in there will be a string. You have to do some conversions. Conversions if you want to make this string to become integer, to become a decimal or whatsoever, do your pass lah. Okay? Do the conversions.
In our assignment instead of the decimal bars.
Okay.
Can we use this one?
Can.
Because the other ones are long to type.
No problem. Okay. String name. So you all play around with the structure as well, huh? Okay. Oh, I have to key in something. Okay. So put in my name, mark 150. So you can see that again the output is active. Output window. Because again we are actually using the debug.writeLine. So for this case, make sure you key in your name and mark 1 first when you run it. So since that's a string, definitely no need to convert lah. So you can see something, my name and my mark 150 display here at the output window again. Okay. So always remember that whenever you deal with this debug.writeLine, you check your output here. Don't expect you have any output with the form already. Oh, okay. Okay. So now you play around with the structure with array. Okay. Structure with array. So you have to do some comment and uncomment something lah. So based on this, from top, comment structure declarations using structure, and comment using structure with array. So at the top, using array, okay, you have to comment it. Oops. Okay, uncomment is using structure. Using structure, student with array element. So even though both are actually structure here, same structure, one is student, this is student, this is also student, and then also with 2 elements, 1, 2, but here the first thing is the same, second one is actually with array. Okay, this one is actually with array, and we don't have any size here. But we need to have the size at, oh, I haven't stopped yet just now. We need to have the size here later using redeem statement. Okay, to create the size of your array lah. Okay. So whatsoever you deal with the mark 1 only, you just uncomment, you just comment it lah. So now you can see that you have this structure array, structure variable for the first index, first element, second element, third element, which actually getting the text from this tree. Here, 1, 2, 3 here. Okay, this one. Okay, again, after you have assigned some values there, don't forget to right line it. Otherwise, you can't see anything.
What is Cn? Cn convert integer.
Yes. You convert the string to integer.
Oh, we can just use Cn. Does it work for other things? Other like C string, does it work also?
You can check. Okay. You can check for this. Huh? So I leave it to you. When we have a method, we always have another method. Okay? Please check for it. Here. Okay, because it's not I press twice, it comes out twice, 2 times. Mark 1, 20, 30, 40. Okay.
So in our assignment, we need to do this what? Checking.
Need to do what?
This debug, the value checking. Do we need to include?
No, that one is on your own lah. If you think that you need to use this for your own checking to see whether what you have done for this part, everything run properly, you can just simply use a debug.writeLine to check before you really come up with a form to display something. Another form, maybe you want to display the result on sum, or you can come up with a message on that. Okay? Because sometimes error come out. You don't know which line is actually having the major problems with that. So you can do all this type of, you can include all this type of debug.writeLine for you to narrow down the area for you for the checking lah.
We can write on the debug only, if like the other one, like will order.
Debug only. Then the other one is what?
Yeah, I don't know, will something. Is it?
What?
On the right line. We can write on the debug only, if like other name.
If you want just for the checking to show your output at the output window here, you can only use debug.writeLine. Or you can use debug.write. But you will have everything squeezed together.
Oh.
Yeah. This is only for your checking purpose normally. And if you want this output to be happen at this window, use this. If you want to make this to another form or the same form in some part of columns or whatsoever labels, you cannot have debug lah. Okay, by that time you cannot use debug already. Okay. Because for the user to check on your program, on your apps, they will look into this. They will not. They won't look at your design time, how it is run or whatsoever. They will look into the final product only. Oh, okay. So that's basically to answer the until here. Okay, what you have gone through just now, the array structure and also array in a structure. This demo for each next structure. Basically already answered, give you the idea, give you also the coding on how to deal with, to play around with the coding here. To apply this array to the structure. Okay. So we move on. Have you all tried all the 3 types here? One is for each. Next, 2 on the structures. The first structure will be just the normal structure. The second structure will be the array with array elements inside. Use the redeem statement to declare the size of that particular array. Okay, you all tried already, Don't worry, you can always refer back to all this demo. All this demo is bonus for you all. Okay, so we move on. Debugging array program. So view the array elements in the debugging time by setting a breakpoint. Still remember? I asked you to set the breakpoint so that from there you can easily check, okay, after run for the first loop, what will happen? You can view the local windows. What happened there? Okay. Other than the output windows there, you have another windows, which is the local windows, that you can see the steps. What happens at this moment during runtime? During runtime, when it comes to the 0 index, what is that? Then when it comes to the next loop with index 1, then what's the value? 1 by 1, line by line, loop, every single loop, iterations by iterations. It's not like the form is straight away give you the final result, final output. But when you have this breakpoint, you can view these local windows to see step by step how to get that particular output, final output. Click the triangle sign to the left of the array name to view the individual array element. So you can I haven't set the so I can just simply set a breakpoint. Okay. I can set it here. You can just click. You find this gray line, and this one is actually on your earlier chapter. We did mention on this breakpoint. This one is a demo file. This should be on either chapters here. One of the chapters here mentions on that breakpoint. If you can't remember, I'll make sure you check back. I think it's not this one. Hold on, let me check. Somewhere towards the end. Okay. Noel, can you remember which chapter we talk about this? I remember there's one chapter on this. I think it should be this one.
breakpoint.
Yes. Yeah, this one. Chapter 4, you all can always refer back. Chapter 4. And then chapter 4 also we did mention on this debug. Debug just now. Debug the right line. So you have this local auto windows. Okay, breakpoint is actually to help you when you do your compiling lah. Breakpoint, you can just click on this gray line. Okay. Local windows, auto windows. When you already set all this breakpoint, okay, you can step in already lah. So all these auto windows, local windows are here lah. Okay. Then you see when you press on F10, it's actually giving you the step by step lah. Oh, the structure just now didn't put in anything. Never mind. So when you can play, you actually can play around with all these to check one by one, line by line. Then easily for you to spot out which line is actually having problem then by setting all this breakpoint. So you can fully utilize what you have learned in this chapter 4. Okay, it's actually helping you for the debugging lah. So this is one of it. Table lookup. Okay, you want to find out something. So often the values used to identify a series of elements are not sequential. Sequence depends. Sometimes sequence is not important. Like database, I did mention, the order of it is not important, but just to make sure you have that inside, is you can actually find it out already. So use the table lookup process to find the correct element in the array. Establish a structure and dimensions an array of a structure. So you must, because in one of the modules that you're going to have later, sure you have to use up the structure already. Then you have more than one record, that will be good for you to just include array for that particular structure. Oh, you have to use that already. So use the form load event procedures to put the numbers in the table executed once the form is loaded into memory. So every time the form is loaded, you actually trigger the form load event. Once this form is loaded, what you want to do? Okay, that's another event handler, and this form load is actually you start to deal with it since early practical. Okay. So for the table lookup, for example, here you want to search for the index with index 2. So it will show that related details under this index 2 for you. By displaying, you can definitely you need to design the layout, design the interface some more lah. Otherwise, it will show you don't know where to show. If you don't ready a space for them to show the relevant info on what have been searched. So if that index happened here, then it will show. Okay. You can use the list box with array. So use list boxes or combo box rather than text boxes. Because previously we have learned list box and also the combo box to collect a list of the data. a list of the records that you have: keyboard, monitor, mouse, what else? A lot is related to the computer wise. Okay, so you can use this something like this. Okay, so use the list selected index property to determine the array substrate. This selected index, if let's say I click on this will be the selected index. It will actually generate this index by its own in your system to show the relevant details. And again, make sure you have a place, you have a label, or you have something to show the relevant info on this 110. Okay, so allow user to select from a list, and the selected index property can be used as the subscript of the total array. So it is actually to generate, once you click that, selected index will have a number there. Okay, if you don't select it, excuse me. If you don't select anything, then you click on some button for some process maybe, the selected index will show, will return as -1, which means that you didn't select anything. Okay, this one again, please refer back to your previous chapter on 7.1 if you have, if you can't remember what is this mean, selected index. So now demo for the table lookup. You want to search something. Again, go back to the table lookup, chapter 8, this form table lookup. Okay, so just start it, play around with it. Oh, I forgot to set the startup form. Okay, so this one, you can enter ID, search, error, student not found. So since here got the ID, I copy from here lah, WAD 0111, search. So I can see something, some related details on this WAD 0111. So if I simply key in any ID, student not found. Okay, to make this more user-friendly later on, if not found, you can just leave it, all these text box or label to blank the text equals to blank, to make this more logic But this one here not found give you not found, but you still display the previous one. But our main purpose now is actually to search based on what we have in our list here. Okay, so this is another one, another type. You can search based on the list box, the combo box. You can click on either one, which means that inside you only have 2 records. Search. This one, search. Okay, so exit. Okay, you see, let's say just now I didn't select any, which means that this is the selected index is actually with index -1. So please select an ID. There is no ID there being selected. So you all play around with it, Design. So you can look into the coding for that, how to do the comparison. Because here the initializations are, when this form is loaded, so I want to set or assign the value. So here, structure, and then this student, you are actually playing with the structure variable. This is the structure variable, integer max. So you have 0, 1, 2, 3. Oh, is there some more? Let me see. Oh, I have some more. Okay, search. WAD 5. From this list, you have 5 records, 5 elements. Hold on now. So your integer max as integer is 4, which means that you're going to have 5 elements. Your 4 is the highest, the last element's index lah. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So once this form is loaded, I already assigned these 5 records into 5 indexes. Okay. So you have added this into the list. Okay. Then once I click on the search, okay, you need to check the new variables. Okay, you check whether the text, okay, the text key in by the user. Now they make it to upper, so that later easy for them to check lah. Because we might get combinations of the uppercase, lowercase. We might get all the upper or all the lowercase. So everything you just make it to upper for you, easy to compare, because your data here is actually all in uppercase. Okay, easy to compare. So you compare if the same. Okay, if that's the same, the string, the text ID here is the same with the string ID being assigned initially when the form is loaded. Then you found it. You just assign the whatsoever values from the previous form loaded. Which one? All these will be stored inside here. Okay, you found it. Okay. If not found, definitely you have a message box to show that's error lah. Okay. Your bullet found, you need to display something. Not found, this is important. To just show the user whatever key in by them is not found. Not found. Give a proper symbol here. Oh, this one also, you have learned it in one of the chapter. Don't forget, always whatever display today, you ever learn. Even though it's not today, you ever learn it in previous chapter. Okay, fully utilize it. Make sure you always do your revisions. Otherwise, you say, hey, seems like we haven't learned this, we haven't learned that. You learned it. Okay. So this one is actually searched by using the list box. Okay. Check. The index is actually, you will get the selected index. So if that's not equals to -1, as I did mention, -1. Okay, when a selected index is -1, which means that the user didn't choose or didn't select any element from the list box in this case. Okay, if yes, just based on which index selected, then put in the relevant ID, name, and cost to be shown into all these label later. Okay. Play around with it, look into the coding, and this answered all these parts that you have gone through. This one, table lookup. So you might need to apply this for the assignment. For some purpose, definitely you have to search. Search what? For your case, I may need to search the schedule, something like that. or I may need to search for the certain member. Okay, so you can use up this way lah. Search the member, so you can use the member ID for you to search. Either you want to key in, or you want to get ready a list for the user or for the member. So from there, in this case, if you have a list there, that will be better lah. But if you have a long list, it's good that you have both. Okay, if you have a long list of the members that you have, you have to click. Maybe you have 1,000 members. This is for the real situations. Okay, for the real situations, you may have a few thousands of members. So is it practical for you to click a few thousand times just to find the proper list, proper member ID from here? Okay, so you might need to come up with two ways for them.
Is it possible to sort the ID, the list? Is it possible to sort using a code?
To store using the code?
Like the IDs, do we have to sort it?
Yes,
like yes. Does it automatically sort, or do you have to use a code to
sort? The form load that just now? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, after this form is loaded, in this case, you after this form is loaded, you assign all this value to every single index that you have in the array lah. For this case lah, they do it manually in this way lah. You load it.
Is it possible for it to automatically sort like the alphabet A is the first, like those things? Like if we suddenly add ABC 1111 like that, and then the student, and then the ID should be on top like that from the option.
Not necessary, or that's why the sequential I did mention, the order is not important.
Okay.
Okay, so you all play around with this again. Okay, and multi-dimension. Have you all played around with this already? If yes, we move on now. We move on to the last part of this chapter. Demo, okay. Farah, you okay or not so far? Okay, so far so good
Yeah, I'm following the table.
So you play around with the demo as well, Okay, good. So multi-dimensional array using the statement and specify the number of rows and columns. Okay. I would prefer this to be written as a 2D array lah. 2D array. Okay. 2D array that will be with the rows and column is like a table already. Your column will be the data. Your row will be the record for every single students maybe, or for every single member. Okay, the columns here can be the member ID, member name, member age, contact, address. Then the row here can be the member 1 ID, member 1 name, member 1 address, member 1 contact, member 1 other data. And another rows can be the member 2 ID, member 2 names, and so on, based on what columns that you have. That's a 2D array. Okay, so specify rows with the first subscript, columns with second subscript. So need to use a comma to specify the dimensions. So the general form here, you can have this using this way. The array name, give the highest subscript as the data type. Okay. Then the array name, another way, you can just comma it again by using the, what we call that? The initializations. Okay, your initializations here. So from here, easily for me to know, that will be 3 rows, 4 columns. James, Mary, Sam, Sean, that will be 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 1 column, 2, 3, 4 columns. Every single row, you're actually with the same number of columns. Okay. So initializing 2D array, you can use nested for next loop. Same concept again with programming previously. You use nested for loop. So using one for loop, you have a single dimension. Using nested for loop, you have 2D array. 2D array. So one for loop for the row, one for loop to access for the column. Always remember that. So again, if you want to print the 2D table, okay, again, use the for loops that you have learned. Okay. Sum up a 2D table, 2D array lah. Same meaning. 2D array is a 2D table. It's a table. It's actually a table there. A table with rows and columns. So include the total field for each row and each column. In this case, you want to find out row 1, the total for row 1, total for row 2. Let's say you have 2 rows only. Then you will get row 1 total, row 2 total. Then for each column as well, if you have, let's say 3 columns, you're going to have column 1's total, columns 2 totals, columns 3 totals, and something like that. And then you can have also the sum the figure in both directions, double check the totals. You can also have the grand total as well, which means that you add up all the rows and columns totals, all the cells total. So lookup operations for 2D tables here, you have to use the same techniques as for single D array. Okay, direct reference if meaningful rows and columns are available. Make sure it's not out of reach. Same thing. Okay, so many 2D tables used for lookup will require additional one-dimensional array or list to aid in the lookup process. So we will look into the 2D array table demo for this multi-dimensional array. Okay, just now we deal with single, the table lookup. So now we deal with this form 2-dimensional array. Then later, further on, you can just play around with this table lookup for 2D array. We go for this one first. Okay, yours, play around with your demo. 2D-dimensional array. Zero to 11. Okay. So you can see that when it comes to the 2D array, you sure you have more than 1 for already. 1 for the row, 1 for the column. So you need to know what size. Okay. What size for the row and column. So this is to answer your general forms here. Highest subscript. 1 for the row, 1 for the column. Okay. So here, 2, 3. So when you run your for loop for the row, 0 to 2. When you run for the column, 0 to 3. Okay. So it will give you every single cell from the tables there. Okay. So for this loop, seems like it's initializing. The count. You want to initialize the count value to become the cell's value. Table cell. This is the table cell. The cell means the The cell here is this, the intersections of the rows and columns that the cells equals to cell. Huh? Oh. Repeat already. Okay, so in this case, once the initialize button is clicked, that's the event handler. So you're actually assigning every single count value, okay, to row 1. The first loop, that will be row 1, columns 1. Okay. The second loop, that will be row 1, columns 2. Columns 2 with index 1. No? So it will get the count because your count keep +1. Keep +1. So it will actually keep increase the value +1, +1, +1, +1 until the last cell, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2. The last cell, which is 2 and 3. Your coordinate, consider coordinate 2, 3 with the last count. The last count, how many times you count it. So this is actually to initialize all the cells value here. Then when you start to print, you're going to print out what you have. Print out what you have in your document there, which is all this. Which is all that. So that's why when you run it, okay, you're gonna have, I close already. Yeah, I close already. So this is, I click the print without I click on the initializations, initialize any value into the array that I have just now. So you need to initialize it. That would be good if you come out with a message box again to inform that, oh, I have initialized some values to the arrays that you have. Now you can print. Then after I've clicked on the initialize, then when I press on the print button, I got some values there. Instead of all 0 without any initialization just now. Okay? So you just play around with it. So again, once you have this print button, this one also you have learned in last chapter 7.2. Once you have the print button, you need to tell the system what you want to print on the page and how you're going to set the page layout. Don't forget how you want to print the page layout. So in this case, that's why just now you have the line by line. It keeps on getting height +2, +2, +2 for every single values that displayed. If you don't have any height there, as I did mention, all your value from 0 to 11, you may have display the values somewhere here. All the values will be here, overlapping each other already. So you need to have a proper height. Every single line that you have print out, make sure you reserve some gap in between, not to overlap it. Okay.
Miss, if like height +1 can.
You can check your own gap. If you think that will be okay, easy to read when you come out with the report, especially when the report you need to print. So if you make it +1, is it too near? You can just test it. You can just test it, no worry. So will you happy with this or not? If that's too small, you can't see that much. Okay, you can try to set it to a bigger size and see. Okay, just play around with it. You can set it to any bigger size or smaller size just to see what's the difference, you see. So you can just choose the best display. You can set the best layout. Okay. Like this case, is it too much for the gaps? Up to you lah. You think it's readable, it's more easy to read and this and that. Okay, you can set it to 10 or any other values that you think is more suitable lah. Okay. You can just use all this. You can just take it, use it, apply it to your assignment. Just take this. No worry. You can just copy this. You can just copy all this, but adjust it. Adjust it based on what you want and what's the best you think. Okay.
Okay.
So you can play around with the lookup for 2 dimension. Okay, so if 1 kg, that's in zone A, how much charges? 5 kg, different zone, different charges. Okay. So easily for you to check on the coding lah, especially when you have a button day, you want to do something, just double click it. Okay. So now it's actually getting both input from the list box. One is zone, one is the weight. But which one is the selected index? Definitely you need to select one based on here. Then you look up. Okay. So it's actually getting
the line 12, the one the more than less than symbol.
It's not equals to -1. Not equal. This one, right?
Equal or equal. Okay.
Yeah. It's not
so
equal.
Use the exclamation mark and equal symbol. Can I use?
In VP, we are using this as a not.
Oh. So okay.
Yeah. So when it is not equal to -1, you must have something. But when it is equal to -1, you must show some message already. You must select something because you haven't select. And if you haven't select, you straight away click on lookup. Definitely your selected ID from here and also here is -1 for both. Okay. You didn't select anything. Remember that selected index always -1 if you didn't select anything. Then it's good for you to come up with the proper message and proper symbol to make it more presentable. Okay, so you can add on this based on what you have learned. Okay, so in this case, you look up it, not equals to 1, it will actually based on what's the index that you choose. Okay, if not, then if it is -1, definitely it will show you the error message already. Okay, so this index is actually based on what you have initialized. What you have initialized here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 columns. So every single rows with 4 columns. Anyone still don't know what is the D at the back? Why not D?
Is it the decimal?
Yes. I want to fix it to decimal. If you don't fix it to decimal, you can just simply put 1, 1.5, comma 1.65, and so on. But this your system may confuse with whether this is decimal or double. Okay, they may make it double, and with more what we call that precisions. Huh? So for the best, if you deal with the amount, the money, it's good that you straight away put the D at the back. The sales, something about the money, don't forget the D. Okay.
So by default, it's a double.
Yeah. It can be confused. It is double. Huh? But anyway, you will still getting the correct result, but it may not in decimal. Huh? Because there's one chapter again. If you forget about it, I think it should be this one. What did I press? Some more. I think there's one part is mentioned. The D, yes. Here, type declarations character. Okay. So if a type declarations character is not appended, any whole number is assumed to be integer for those without the fractional, but any fractional that will be assumed as double, as what I mentioned just now, without this character. So with that character, there's a type declarations character. Okay, let's confirm that's a decimal. Confirm this is a double. Confirm this is the integer. Confirm this is a long. But for these two, if you didn't put I and L, that will be integer.
The decimal, is it usually only 2 decimal places, or is it?
Usually 2 decimal places.
Double also.
Double can be any decimal places. Because double is having a really long precision.
If the decimal, you write more than 3 decimal places.
Decimal like money, always you write 3 decimal places.
Yeah, if there's other, if you
use double.
If we're doing calculation, we use double.
Then you use double.
If you want output the money, you use double. You use decimal.
Yes.
Okay.
That will be the best. Okay. So all these you see, all this what I've mentioned previously is actually happened in your slides. It's only that whether you really go through every single slide or not, you miss out any important parts or not. This one I'm not sure.
Why is it single? Why is single?
Single also is actually it's like double, but single is actually with shorter precision. It's just like your float or double in programming. Why you have 2? Something like that. Is that why you have 2? Because one with longer precisions, another one with shorter precisions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. It's only because different applications, sometimes like chemistry, like whatsoever engineering side, they might need more accurate value, like a pi. When you have this pi, the pi that you have learned in maths, for us it's like okay lah. For maths calculations, 3.14, I can't remember what is that. Long, maybe we look into it. I can't remember, 3.141 something. Pi. 3.14159.265. So some of the applications, they really need into really precise, accurate. So you must use double with more precision. So some of it you can just shorter down to use a single with lesser precision. So it depends on the case, depends on the applications as well. But if let's say some general one, you can just simply use single. Single, which is good enough already. Okay. So I hope today, after we have go back to some of the chapters that we have covered, hopefully you can recall some of it. Okay. And then if you want to make it to do 2 or 3 decimal places, all this, you can set the number of decimal places that you want actually by using the I can't remember. This one is 8. Is it in this chapter also? The 0.00. You can use that lah. If you want to set it to a certain fixed decimal places. Rounding. You can use the rounding as well. This is what we have gone through also previously. So apply all this lah. We almost there. We almost there to the database chapter. But before we actually cover the new chapter on the database, I hope you all really spend some time again to do your revisions on chapter 1 until chapter 8. All helpful. Okay, all are helpful. Let me stop sharing this. All are helpful for your assignment. Oh, why this? Already answer you, right, Noah? Okay, not equals, Okay, any other questions that you want to ask, maybe?
Is there a test for VP?
No.
Oh.
They set it 100% to the assignment. But you have final exam for this course, and again, I think maybe next week, I will upload the past year questions so that you can just have a try on that, and then we will use one either lecture or the practical time to discuss on this past year questions. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, please also remind me. I might lost memory because recently I'm really ding ding dong dong here with the MQA thingy, so I might
week what again? Week 11.
Pardon?
Week what again? Week 11.
Maybe next week or next week. Week 11 also lah. If week 11 I haven't upload, please remind me. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, so any other questions? I really hope you all have finalized your discussions, especially on the layout, all this user interface. But I also remember you did mention after the cover the next chapter, then I believe from there you can get more ideas already lah. Basically, after we have covered next chapter, then these two actually, this one, okay. So basically, you will have to come up with the database already lah. You deal with the database part. The demo is actually given the ready database lah. But the extra part is actually giving you the idea how to create the database. See, create table, student. So how to create the table in this VP lah. Then later on, how you're gonna add in the records. That will be easier already. That will be easier already. So that's why it's hold on, Noel. That's why it's good that you have the records ready lah. You have the records ready. No need to be so many lah. 10 to 20 is good enough. 10 to 20 is good enough. Okay. So we will talk about this next class, but whether we have enough time to cover the extra or not depends. Okay. This one are 9A, 9B, and 10. Yeah. Noel, your questions?
Oh yeah. The value in the database can do we have to store inside the array first before put into the form like that?
Okay, when you create a database in BP in this environment, this Visual Studio here, which means that you already store the data inside. You have the record inside. You create, you store the record inside. Then later on, you can just deal with some button to like either drag and drop for the fields that you have inside that particular tables for you to do more like add, like insert, like add, like search, update, delete, all this will be covered after this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then you have to apply it to your assignment already. That one really have to already. So any other questions?
So far, no.
No,
So far, no question.
Okay, so far so good. You think you can cope this course quite well at this moment,
Oh yeah.
Kevin, I think you're a bit slow already, You have to push yourself, because self-discipline, Kevin, help yourself to ask more. Okay, Noel is there. I believe Noel is really helpful. You all also really helpful. It's only that whether you manage to answer that or not. But Noel, I can see that he is quite okay and then can cope quite well already for whatsoever chapters that we have covered. So the problems here is only whether you really go through every single chapter carefully or not lah. Like Kelvin, your I know your way is a bit rushing. Sometimes you might miss out something, Kelvin? So improve from there lah. Farah? Also improve. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So if you have no questions, then I will see you all on next week lah. So for tomorrow, Thursday. For Thursday practical class, you all make sure you have your own discussions in the group lah. So if you don't have any other group, you can just discuss in this RST group. No worries. Okay. Okay. So I will see you all then. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Go for
Okay,
lunch
thank you.
already. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.